Hey guys, the Fire Brothers here. It's just me, and before we begin, I want to tell you guys that this week I'm gonna be making a lot of projects for college, a lot of homework, a lot of stuff to work on. So I'm not gonna have a lot of time to edit my videos, but something that I could do is that I could upload daily, but it will be on the form of like a podcast kind of thing where I just speak out and tell you my thoughts and stuff and report on some news. Tomorrow the Bumblebee Blu-ray is gonna come out and I'm gonna get my hands on it tomorrow. So I'm probably gonna upload the webcomic and probably make a small, analysis breakdown of it. So if that's okay with you guys and you guys don't mind this podcast style thing with not a lot of editing, going in it, then I can do videos daily, at least for the time being, until, my schedule becomes less clustered. But anyways, so today we're talking about Lorenzo, and yes, I know, as soon as I say his name, you guys wanna punch, the wall repeatedly until your, fist starts bleeding. Because I got in some of those comments, but the point is that I don't hate Lorenzo. Now, I know that's gonna sound heretical for some of you, but listen to me. He's the producer of the franchise at the moment, like he's the guy that everyone's looking, for answers, for questioning, for telling us that there's a plan, that there's hope, that what comes next, and if something goes wrong, it's his fault. And honestly, that's not a position I envy. Like, I would not want to be in that position either, especially when it comes to being the producer of the Transformers movies, the Transformers franchise. A franchise that sadly has been stained with the name of, being bad movies, because Michael Bay's movies were not the best. Sure, you can like them, and that's fine. Like, we're not gonna judge you for that. If you like it, you can like it, but you have to admit they're not good movies. I admit they're not good movies, but I like them. Just wanna make that clear. Now, the main problem with Transformers, I don't think it's completely Lorenzo's fault, but more a lack of direction. And this isn't really a modern problem. This has been a problem since the first movie. Now, to this day, I would say that the first Transformers movie, is a pretty good movie. Sure, it has flaws, it has pointless moments, there's characters that don't serve any purpose, but overall, I like the Transformers movies. I like the first Transformers movie at least. And to this day, I will still defend it. But after that movie, we had Revenge of the Fallen, and that movie was pretty bad, and it was like almost universally hated. It still made a lot of money, and that was good enough for Hasbro. But then we had Dark of the Moon, and that movie, in my opinion, was actually pretty good. Like, it was pretty okay. I know some people don't like it, but I thought it's like my second favorite movie. And that was it. For the longest time, we believed that that's it for the Transformers movies. It's just 1, 2, and 3. But then the problem here is that they stretch it out. Like, they outstay their welcome. If they would have stick with just making 3 Transformers movies, first movie, Revenge of the Fallen, and Dark of the Moon, I don't think the Transformers movies would have gotten the level of infamy that they now have. Age of Extinction, by the time Age of Extinction came out, like, the whole, how can I say this, aspect, like everyone viewing the movies as bad movies started. And with The Last Night, like, people got used to it. They were like, oh, it's just another Transformers movies. Like, if the first 3 movies could be considered to be bad movies, and there was at least a debate. Some people say, okay, yeah, they're not the greatest, but they're enjoyable. The CGI is out, it's awesome, the action's awesome. But then with Age of Extinction and The Last Night, I think that was the point of no return. The point that the movies, were no longer, oh, these movies are somewhat bad, but they're pretty enjoyable, to actually being, blacklisted as bad movies in the public eye. And if you look at the movies, especially from the first one to The Last Night, you can see that there's not a clear story. And what I mean by this, in Star Wars, think of Star Wars, like the first 3 episodes, well, the first 6 episodes, we're not counting the sequels because they suck. There was a story, Jedi becomes Dark Lord, he has a kid, the kid tried to redeem the father through the span of 6 movies, and it was like a space opera. Like, there was a clear story going on. But the problem with the Transformers movies is that we have not really a story, but we have a villain of the week kind of thing. kind of like in G1, we will have an episode dedicated to a certain character. The next time there's a new problem or a new antagonist, and bam, they're done and over with. Kind of like Robots in Disguise in 2015. I think it's 2015. I don't remember the time, the year the latest Robots in Disguise came out, but you can draw some similarities. The first movie stopped Megatron from getting the Allspark, and that was a self-contained story. But then we have Revenge of the Fallen, and the Fallen appears, tries to claim the Star Harvester. But then we have Dark of the Moon, Sentinel Prime, deal with Megatron. They try to transport Cybertron to Earth, and we have Age of Extinction, where they were at least, I'm gonna give it the credit, they were at least trying to set up a larger story, but then most of what they set up for Age of Extinction got squashed in the last night. The creators never existed, there's just Quintessa, Lockdown was never mentioned, and a bunch of other things happened. Each movie feels like a blend of the week thing. There was never any clear direction, like, we're gonna start, first movie we're gonna start, by introducing the Autobots, and by the last movie we're gonna have the Autobots, fight the Decepticons on Cybertron or whatever. It was like, okay, first movie we do this, then second movie, let's come up with a new plot, let's introduce a new bad guy and stuff. There was never any direction, like, they were just making it up as they went, which is pretty much what happened. Now, with Bumblebee, as a prequel, well, it's a reboot now, but I'm actually pretty happy that they decided to reboot it and prioritize the story, which is something that should happen. And the Bumblebee movie, despite what you think, whether you liked it or hated it, it did set up, it has a lot of potential. Like, they can build up Megatron because he hasn't appeared yet. The Autobots are arriving to Earth, the Decepticons are still trying to find them. There's a lot of stories and a lot of stuff you can set up that the Bumblebee movie, set up and in a future movie can be developed. But the problem is that modernly, Lorenzo and the people in charge don't know what they're doing. Like, one week you will hear Lorenzo say that, oh yeah, this is a reboot, and next thing you know, it's not a reboot. Then they say that, oh, we could have a Beast Wars movie, but we don't want to because it's too expensive, or oh no, next movie is just gonna be a buddy cop movie. It's not gonna be a mainline Transformers movie, or Transformers 6 is still happening. And it's this thing that really bothers me, that there's a lot of contradiction. And when there's contradiction, it means that the person that is giving the information don't know what they're doing, or they're trying to desperately come up with a cover-up story. It's like when someone gets arrested and they tell their side of the story and then they keep on changing it because they're secretly they're insecure, like they're afraid because they don't know what to do, like they know they're in trouble. And I think that's the same thing that's happening with Lorenzo here. The Transformers writing room, writer room, I think that's what it was called, was made during the time of the last night to try to set up a story, like a clear outline. Listen, we start here and we end here. But then things fell apart, the last night was not good, and the only thing we got from the writer's room was the Bumblebee movie, which arguably was a good decision, a step on the right direction. But now Lorenzo kinda wants to undo that, goodwill. And if you go on YouTube and check plenty of YouTubers that report on movies and stuff, you're gonna see a lot of headlines and titles saying that, oh, Paramount is threatening to do a Transformers 6, or Hasbro/Paramount want to ruin Transformers after Bumblebee. And honestly, can you blame them? Because aside from us, the fandom that knows that Lorenzo is full of shit and he doesn't know what they're doing, the public and people who are not part of the fandom are gonna take him seriously, and that could really harm the next movie. Because if the public finds out, well, if they believe that we're going back to Bayhem, then that could ruin the goodwill that the Bumblebee movie made, and it could ultimately discourage the people from checking out the next movie. And honestly, I know it sounds like I'm blaming Lorenzo, and I wouldn't say it's his fault entirely. I mean, he is the one who's spreading all of this information and contradicting himself, so he should just shut up. In my opinion, Lorenzo, just shut up. If you're watching this, I really doubt you're watching this, but if you are, shut up. Just keep your mouth quiet and just work on the next movie. And please don't go back to Mayhem, because the problem with Mayhem is not that people got tired of explosions or stuff like that. It's that the movies were they didn't have a good story. Like, people like the action. That's the main reason why people went to watch it. The problem with Bumblebee, and I think that a lot of people can agree with me on this, is that there wasn't enough action. I mean, there was plenty of action, but the problem is that they prioritized the story a little too much and they didn't give us enough action. For example, we could have had a scene of Cliffjumper fighting Dropkick and Shadow on Jupiter, or we could have a little bit of a prolonged fight between Shadow and Dropkick and Bumblebee during, their first encounter in the movie. There was action, there was some, scenes that we could have seen some action on, but we ultimately did it, and that's kind of a shame. Now, when Lorenzo says, go back to Bayhem, I don't think he's gonna go entirely back to Bayhem. I really don't think that's the case. But the thing here is that I think he kind of knows that the Bumblebee movie was lacking a bit more in action, but the problem is that he's not too sure if they can find that limelight, that compromise between the story from the B movie and the action from the Bayformers. If you reach that balance, then we can have a good Transformers movies. But even then, that's up to question if that's even possible. But what Lorenzo needs to do, and I really hope he's watching this, which again I don't think he is, but hopefully you guys can spread the word, is that next year or in the next 4 or 5 years, I know this is gonna piss a lot of people off, but don't make a Transformers movie for the next 5 years. Let the Bumblebee movie stay on people's minds for a good while, and on the meantime, get a writer's room and start making an outline for what you want to do. The Autobots at the moment of the B movie are on Earth, and they're regrouping and stuff. There's a lot of potential, a lot of setup, and a lot of stories that you can tell. Do an outline saying, okay, next Transformers movie is gonna be for all the Autobots. They're gonna team up and fight the Decepticons who just discovered where they are and where, Earth is located. Then we can have a spin-off of the Wreckers, a spin-off of Beast Wars in the future and stuff like that. But I don't want them to do the Bayformers. The Bayformers were directionless because each movie was in a way self-contained. It didn't really follow, what happened prior. I mean, it did, but each movie, Decepticons appear, good guys, fight back, and they win at the end of the day. Each movie there's a win. It's not an ambiguous conclusion. And each movie feels the new artifact, the new enemy, the new, villain of the week, for a lack of a better term. The Bumblebee movie and any future movies after it need to don't kill the Decepticons, out of nowhere. Make the Transformers more relatable, give them personalities in the B movie, tell a good story in the B movie, and try to have some action squish in there, the B movies, but don't overdo it. I don't want Grimlock to be, smacked by Optimus Prime and him just falling to the ground causes 1,000 explosions. Keep the explosion and the action in the realm of reality. I know that's kind of hard to swallow when we're talking about giant robots who can transform into cars and triple change into jets, but you get my point here. The point here of this entire video is that each movie, it's the same thing. Bad guys start winning, good guys just win again, there's an artifact or whatever, and that's the main crux of the Michael Bay movies. You should tell a story like the B movie. There was no artifact in there. The closest thing to an artifact would be the radio tower, but even then that was not the main focus of the movie. That was just something that was thrown in there for the Decepticons to contact the other Decepticons and destroy the planet, which I thought it was done in a good way. It's not another artifact that our heroes need to collect to stop the Decepticons, which was really repetitive. Each story needs to feel fresh, needs to feel different, like the Star Wars movies. Say what you want about the prequels, but at least they didn't rehash what happened in the previous movies. For example, Episode 7 of Star Wars was a copy of Episode 4. Don't do that. Each movie needs to feel different, needs to feel fresh, needs to have a different story, different characters, needs to have different action to keep it interesting, and don't be repetitive. Like one movie had the Decepticons win, and another movie had the Autobots like lose, or like, you know, left their victory be ambiguous or whatever, or just do setup for the feature movie. Because right now, I think that they have a golden opportunity to set up Megatron. Because so far, we haven't seen Megatron in the new, you know, rebooted franchise, but you can feel his presence because he's the leader of the Decepticons, and the Decepticons are winning, and all of us were forced to leave. Like, you can do an amazing setup to Megatron, because the B movies in a way kind of ruined Megatron. In the first movie, you know, he was this, you know, really powerful Decepticon leader, and after that, it just went downhill from there. But in this movie, they can set him up and actually make him, you know, a threat, a dangerous villain, which I really hope they do. But the point of this entire video, my, you know, rambling, is that this story needs to have direction. You cannot just do this again, that each movie, you know, you're like, okay, we're gonna bring this villain and get him killed off, or we're gonna bring this artifact and do this. You need to have a plan, a long-term plan. And I know that will take time, like they need to take their time. They can't just, you know, throw another movie in 2021 or 2020, whenever the next Transformers movie comes out. They need to take the time and be like, okay, listen, from 2025, we're gonna do like, for 2025 to like 2030, we're gonna do like Marvel. This is phase 1. We're gonna do this movie, then we're gonna do this solo movie, then we're gonna do another Transformers movie, and then we move on to phase 2, where we start seeing all these movies connect, and we're gonna create our own universe like that. I know people don't like it when people copy Marvel, because they usually, you know, tend to screw up. I mean, just look at the Dark Universe and early DC. At least DC managed to pick themselves back up with Aquaman and, you know, Shazam, which, good on them. But I feel like Transformers, with the, you know, tons of characters they have, the tons of story potential, they can actually replicate the Marvel formula quite well. But they need to make their, you know, throw their own spin on it to, yes, you know, don't exactly look like they're copying Marvel and, you know, manage to come up with original content. But anyways, guys, I think Lorenzo is partly to blame for what's happening at the moment, but I don't think he's the sole reason for everything, because this has been a problem since the very beginning. I want to hear what you guys think, and I'm sorry if it sounded like I'm rambling on, you know, constantly switching points, because this was, you know, unscripted. So tomorrow I'm probably gonna do the breakdown for the Blu-ray release and whatever new deleted scenes we get. Fingers crossed we get a Megatron deleted scene. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. So, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Stay safe, guys.